Bring that ass here, boy. What up, party people? That was weird. Welcome to my radio shock jock show. This is Adam Pecora here for another immaculate, exciting story time conglomerate edition. Blackjack episode 21 of Requiem for a Tuesday. Hashtag I feel like Tuesday. Here we are on a nice rainy, warm Tuesday evening. There is a whole lot to unpack. Definitely got a whole theme rolling throughout the episode. We're gonna tie one on and then some. Um, didn't even plan that alcoholic pun for the 21st birthday, but the magic just keeps on rolling here at this show. You really just can't make this storybook type of stuff up. It is just truly unmatched in Hollywood. And, that's why they say the independents are the true storytellers and the real artists. The nitty gritty gets done in the streets, ladies and gentlemen. Um, Speaking of which, now accepting any and all funding for an indie film project that I got cooking up. DM for Deets. That one's going to stay secret. That might just pop up anytime. You never know what's going to be going on there. So before we get into all the luxurious festivities planned before us today, let me do my regular promos. Not much. I still got it real simple. One day, I'm going to crack, I'm going to slip, and I'm going to start going crazy with it. But for now, you can just follow me on Instagram only. That's the only thing that I'm doing so far. I mean, subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast and all that stuff. That'll get there. But at adam.rfat on Instagram, link in bio takes you to everything there. So you can follow along with everything going on. And then, yeah. What was the other thing? Who fucking cares, right? But this show, rate, review, subscribe. Let's keep this party rolling, and just gonna dive right in. So, a lot of movie views going on. I'm doing some intentional viewing, a little bit of homework for the program, if you will, if you must, if you shall. I do. So kind of have a 3-tiered, loosely like I'm gonna I came up with a reason how these movies are all interconnected. Very loose, very shambled, no real logic behind it, but it just kind of happened to be the 3 movies I've intentionally watched most recently for no reason. So the reasons were separate, and now we're going to reconnect all that shit back together and make it seem like it was all on purpose. You know what I mean? Imagine if Dr. Frankenstein had some convoluted backdoor hindsight story to explain why, the murders were planned and he wanted the monster to go berserk. You heard that R in there? It's hard to slip it in there. Berserk. I don't even know if that's right. I just feel like you never say it, right? So I'm gonna be the guy. I'm gonna be the one who says it. Nobody's gonna say it. I'll say it. I'll pronounce it. That's a good bit. Write that down. But anyway, so my con story is so the 3 movies that I'm gonna lay out here, and who knows how much time this is gonna fill. Frankly, I got a lot of thoughts, a lot of takes that actually might loop back in with last week a little bit. Might have missed a mark somewhere. But we're gonna go Citizen Kane. I don't know if this is gonna be the order necessarily. It's just gonna happen however it happens. All right, let's get that out of the way. Get the facts just straight and laid out here. We got Citizen Kane. We have what else can be said? They Live, John Carpenter, classic. And finally, a potentially controversial topic. Who knows? That's part of the intrigue here. 2011's big time award winner, big time, The Artist. Uh, whole lot to discuss on all fronts for all movies, whether they're connected or not. My loose way of saying that they're connected is they all have a tie of black and white. One, okay, reasonable logic, I guess. I guess. Okay, old time movie. Okay, we really only have an excuse for The Artist because it's set in the olden days of movies. And Citizen Kane, not so much. They live on that one. Although you could like convolute an argument, which I did to myself, uh, about this nonsensical situation that only pertains to me. Uh, that like the black and white scenes with the homage, like are just there's just plenty of homages to like 50s black and white like B movie horror. So you could argue that although that is yet another different era, that all the like old timey cinema stuff kind of ties into all three there. Because I mean, you can't say that John Carpenter clearly wasn't a fan of older classic movies. So fuck you if you're gonna try to act like that. There's not some connection there. I worked hard on that theory. To give this a little more unity. Look at me writing episodes, crafting narratives. You would almost think this is a full-on production. But, I'll find a way to fool you. I'll get you back every now and then. But yeah, so that's pretty much what we're working with today. Interesting story. It's not interesting. Who am I to lie? But I was going to do a whole Citizen Kane thing last week, and I just got so amped up and zoned in that it just didn't happen. Completely went to the wayside. And that just goes to show you what kind of electricity is in the air. When somebody's feeling it, you know what I mean? Like, think MJ in Portland, right? Like, when you're just hitting them left and right, pew, bang, splash, those realistic situations like that. Sometimes you just coast over the finish line and you don't even really realize the path you had to take to get there. Because sometimes, you can just be so driven and just have your sights set on that one goal, and you just tunnel vision, black out the haters, block out any animals that may be distracting you from your homework or your studies, whatever you may be working on or towards. You just dart through, bam, 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 stiff arm, Heisman Trophy. Okay, now we're in the big time. And, that's just kind of how I roll. I just make shit happen, get shit done, before you know it. You order, a bagel with cream cheese. I get you, a little bit of lox. A little bit of flair on there. Give me some flavor. This ain't a snack, baby. This is breakfast. Okay? We can't handle none of the weak shit, all right? Bring it to bring it. So anyway, gonna do a lot of tie-ins. This is gonna be a Parasite comparison heavy podcast, I feel like, because there's just a lot of Oscar related things going on with two of the movies here. Pretty sure it's obvious which two. So there's gonna be a lot of callbacks. Because if you know me, if you know anything about me, it's that references are paramount. Okay? And I'm gonna do as much meta commentary as I possibly can, just as a human being of whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry I even tried. It's just because I felt like I was really just knocking through the fucking wood on, that last little rant I went on. I got a little overzealous with it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to fucking floor it, baby. Ooh, see what I mean? Things are just getting a little out of control. So yeah, let's dive in. We're gonna talk a little Citizen Kanana. Okay. Now, you see it on the list, the pantheons of greatness throughout time, like still to this day being listed as the greatest film of all time on like yearly polls. It just keeps the legend never dies, it just lives and lives and lives. Um I'm gonna say on that front, I was disappointed. But on my realism front, I'm like, I expected to be disappointed to that regard. So like with a realistic expectation of a movie from what 1941, I was like, well, that was pretty good. Because I'm sorry, I have an ageism problem, I guess. But I kind of could have figured that a movie from 1941 isn't the best one. I mean, call me crazy, but something in my gut just told me maybe we could have figured out how to do it better once more since. I mean, it's really that simple on my end. Um So if you're gonna go into anything thinking it's already going to be the best thing, I don't know how that could possibly meet your expectations. You know, you just can't. You just can't because, well, I mean, you'd have to be fucking stupid. I'm not even gonna have to paint that picture out for you. Um, I had tried a couple times prior, so I own this movie on DVD. I've had it. It just sits there. It's just like it's something you really got to work yourself up towards. And I did like a little bit of the pregame research. You know what I mean? I did my scouting report. And I got to say I was surprised to learn that like nobody gave a shit at the time. And like, or I guess like it did like pretty solid. It was just like another movie that like, oh, that was really good, and then it just kind of like, you know, just went to the wayside. I keep using that term, to the wayside. That's not how I speak. Um, isn't it weird how things like that'll just happen? It's like, yeah, I know that that word is somewhere in my brain. It's not like I didn't know that that was a thing that people could say. But it's not like I'd been doing it leading up to this. It's like in this momentous time, here we are, 13 minutes, 39 seconds in. And that's the amount of time it took for me to begin adding wayside to the vernacular. Yeah. Sometimes it's nice to just use words. I like to use words that feel appropriate, whether they are or not. Henceforth, what just happened? Um, I feel like usually my schema just kind of lays one on and it ends up being correct. Like it just kind of fits into place. Maybe that's like a combination of a good vocabulary and decent algebra skills. You can just plug in, oh, that sounds appropriate. Oh, it was. You know what I mean? I can fit the pyramid in the triangle slot. You know what I mean? Vocabularily. So, some if it's wrong, don't judge me. Just like listen to it back. Don't think about it. Like just listen to it and tell me I'm wrong. And then I'll tell you you're wrong because you'd be wrong in that situation. So, I'm glad we got that all cleared up, I know that that was really sitting on everyone's mind. Okay, drag that on for too long. Let's carry on. So yeah, I mean, cool to know that it wasn't just like this movie dropped and ever since we just been like tripping. It was like 15 years later. Another correlation with They Live and just John Carpenter's films in general. So that's a fun little connection of time between the two, of many that I can make up. But yeah, I don't know. It was very like ahead of its time for sure. And like technically so, like the camera work in that movie, it's like I would never guess that that was from that time. I would have guessed like I don't know. I honestly don't know. Probably the '60s, but then it would almost would have been it would have been weird that it was black and white. So it's hard to gauge honestly, but yeah, just like the setups and like on a technical aspect, what a phenomenal like piece of movie magic. Don't get me wrong. It's like I get the whole like old Hollywood grandiosity of the whole thing. Um, but it's one of those where like, and it's also one of those stories. Well, it's like it's the original. Like I get it. Like it's where the stuff comes from. But since, again, it's not the 40s, I've heard the story already. I mean, fucking sue me. Somebody should make it a law that you have to see these ones first, and then all the other ones might be let. But you know what I mean? So, like, that's boom. Strike one, old. Sorry. You lose. But yeah, rich guy is a lonely. He's a shithead, but he's nice. He's a Robin Hood, but he's a fucking thief. Fuck the poor, whatever. One of those guys. He's the president, basically, like currently, but he didn't win because he was fucking. Because in the 40s, if you were fucking, that wasn't good. Now you can fuck. You can have a wife and fuck somebody, which was the thing in Citizen Kane. It wasn't just like, oh, this guy has sex. Just to clarify. Uh, but like it's like you can fuck porn stars, you can blackmail them, like you can do anything you want to anybody. Be divorced a bunch of times. Like any of the standards that used to happen, it just doesn't matter. You can just be president now. So like Citizen Kane doesn't age well because a rich scumbag didn't get away with a bunch of shit, and they didn't let him be president. So that's pretty wild. Kids these days would never understand it. They'd be like, why is everybody mad? Doesn't the country just elect that guy? Anyway. So that was interesting to see like that whole dynamic. I always love seeing any type of wealth distribution dynamic stuff from any past things. It's like, oh, well this was shitty 80 years ago. Good to know. Good to know this was a big deal then that they made a movie about it. And we're still rolling. Fantastic. Everybody listened, because like in Vonnegut books, he talks about that all the time. It's in Rosewater, especially. It's in Slapstick a little bit. Fucking. It was in Cat's Cradle somewhat. Whatever. It's so hard to stay on topic when you just like your whole thing is like, how do I consume more? And just it's all just like plug and play. How do I get these variables connected? My brain is just like rapid fire pistons, just like boom, 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 boom. You forgot to talk about meatballs, and then like blah blah blah. It's a disaster. That's why what I just did was pretty incoherent. I'm gonna leave that in there so everybody can just hear my insanity continue to crank as this quarantine continues. That had a nice little percussive thing to it. Play that back and sample it. You're welcome. But yeah, I don't know. Basically, what I gather is that like Wells is like the first Kubrick. Where it's like, oh, here's a guy who did another thing. He's just a really intelligent guy. Ended up getting into this stuff, And then he did it better than a lot of people for a lot of times and a lot of years, and this was great. I applaud every aspect of it considering when it was made. If you consider it in a timeless vacuum, however, significantly diminished. Great movie. Okay? Feel like I'm gonna have to make a lot of claims afterward about this now. I feel like just like with Parasite, I'm just like jumping in too hard on the one little slight opinion I have. Or like the one little critique thing, whatever. The one negative thing I have to say. Anyway, it's just like I don't know. Sorry. It's like if you're a movie buff, I'm sure like a true like historian buff. You know what I mean? Like beyond being a fan where it's just like, fuck off, bro, or like you're a professor or some shit. Then like I'm sure it's the holy grail and you just want to jizz all over all the time. But I'm just saying, like, I'm always a big thing of, like, influence deserves, like, respect, but not, like, it doesn't, I'm going to say the word that it deserves respect, not praise. That doesn't mean that it does not deserve praise. I just think it shouldn't affect, like, an overall rating. So I don't know how to somebody word that into a catchy, snappy phrase, and then you get back to me. Great movie. Yeah, we're just getting into here. Great movie. Watch it. Go watch it. It's important for a lot of reasons. But, like, also just think about it. Like, 1941, and then just watch it and be like, I can't believe they did this at this time. But, it's about a rich guy. So, that's pretty much it. But they do a cool, like, it's like a non-linear narrative, and, like, they it's pretty interesting. It gets a little old-timey boring, but what can you do? Like, they were then. So, they just did what they were doing then. It's not their fault. But I loved it. I didn't love it. I liked it a lot. I liked it. Let's just be honest. But I respect it. That's the main point that I was trying to get at with that last little diversion. Like, I liked it, but the hype is gonna over fucking do the whole thing. So if you have no grasp of the hype, you might like it a lot more. But like, yeah, it was very finely done across the board, and a very interesting story. So at least read about it if you're not gonna check it out. But we're gonna use that segue. We're gonna use that little old Hollywood period there to transition right into another little wild piece of cinema. We're gonna go right into The Artist. Now, this, both like Parasite and Citizen Kane, I have tried. It took me more than one occasion to try to watch it, where like I watched like a beginning portion, like at least 10 to 15 minutes in, had to stop, couldn't do it. I'm like, bro, the focus isn't there. I'm going to have to really hunker down one day and like dive into this bad boy knuckle deep, You put the rubber gloves on, you put your fists in the dough, and you really show that baby who's boss, Now, this movie is a whole lot crazier because none of this, whereas Citizen Kane was like advanced beyond its time, like The Artist is the opposite, right? So it's a fucking silent movie in 2011. Crazy idea, smart idea. I like it a lot. I like the idea of any like throwback thing, like a really high concept thing like this, I think is brilliant. And they did a great job. I mean, it's basically like the way La La Land is basically just like a modern Gene Kelly movie. The Artist is in the same vein with silent films, like as it's just a one huge homage to shit. Just that it's actually set in the time period as well. So that's pretty cool. And they made it look like it's fucking old. Like it looks like it's an old movie. They did the lighting and stuff like dead on, and that was cool. So obviously this movie, it's fucking like French as shit, but so this is why I think it's interesting. So this is a French movie that won, I think it won Best Picture. It definitely won Best Director, Best Actor. So, so this is where, but it's a French movie just made in Hollywood because it's about Hollywood. And since it's silent, there's like inner titles or, just like the text on screen to fucking like tell you dialogue at key points and shit like that. So it like isn't in the foreign language nomination, which was just renamed to international feature. So it's like a point that I brought up with Parasite when just discussing the Oscars originally is like, if it's nominated for Best Picture, it shouldn't be an international feature because then it's just guaranteed to win. Like, that's just not fair, or it needs some kind of recognition as such, because it's just not fair to the other ones, blah, blah, blah. This doesn't even get nominated. I wonder if because of just like the technicality of the foreign language, quote unquote, category at the time, or if it wouldn't get it either way just because it's like fucking in English, because it's Hollywood and all that stuff. So like, does it count as international since it was made in Hollywood? That's a tough question as well. I would say yes, considering like everybody involved is French, but that's neither here nor there. If you look, see, in my head, when I think like, wow, a silent movie won Best Picture and Actor at the Oscars, in my head, before seeing this movie, still, I hadn't seen it up to this point, that sounds crazy to me. It also sounds like it makes a lot of sense because the Oscars love just like big fucking Hollywood stroke fests, and it's a very Oscars-y thing. But upon watching the movie, well, actually, first, upon looking back at the 2011 Oscars nominations, no wonder this won. Frankly, because it was a shit year. All the nominations pretty much sucked. It was like Moneyball was the only movie on a lot of the lists that I'd even seen or liked of the ones that I had seen. Like, you can say what you want about how good or bad this movie is. I'm not commenting on any of this at all for what I'm about to say, but Melissa McCarthy is nominated for an Oscar for Bridesmaids. That does not mean what I'm saying right now. I'm not implying that she's not good in that movie. I'm just saying like that is not an Oscar performance. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, let's just be fucking real. Even if you want to do the whole like they should recognize comedy, because of course they should. I absolutely agree with that. That's not an Oscar performance. So, fuck off. And that's insane. So no wonder this happened. And also, Jean Dujardin, I kind of intentionally mispronounced that, but I also was trying really hard to not say Jouardin because I always read it as DJ. Like I don't ever read the U between the D and the E. Yeah. So that's what happened there. He was amazing. He was so good in this. And it's crazy that he's like a French comedian and like comedy actor because he was fucking lights out, and I don't know how this didn't lead to like a bunch of fucking roles. He was in like Wolf of Wall Street after this, which is great, but like he wasn't like big enough in it to like be really impactful, I guess. Because then they're just, I mean, maybe he doesn't have any desire to be in an American shit. I wouldn't blame him, if your whole fucking thing's in France, and now you're like gonna be the biggest actor in France because you just like tore shit up. Whatever, his own thing. But it would just be cool for us to just get like a new big guy, and it's like, oh, this guy's been in France crushing it, and it's like, nah, we got him. Like Christoph Waltz, I guess. I just expected a Christoph Waltz like thing of him. I guess pre Christoph Waltz, But it's just like, oh, well, he just won the fucking Oscar. Who cares if he's the first French guy? You know what I mean? Like Bong Joon-ho is going to be a staple going forward. So again, there's going to be a lot of parallels here because I also feel like it's not like the 2011 year being weak isn't a good argument for the artist, but it still won and deserved it over the other things. But the way that is almost like dismissed just doesn't really make sense to me. You know, it's fucking cool. And there's a dog in it, and the dog's awesome. And okay, here's the thing. At the beginning, it's like a little much, and it's weird, right? And it's pretty slow at first, and that's kind of the problem. And like, they're definitely like hamming it up and like doing it truly like 20s style. You know what I mean? Where everything is just like insanely animated and like cartoonish and crazy. And I don't know. It's just bizarre, and you have to really be like, okay, I guess I'm watching an old movie. Because in my head, I guess I thought it would be like somehow like a realism portrayal of this, like the off-camera lifestyle. But no, it basically just is one of those old movies, and it acts like it. And like, you could probably tell me that Citizen Kane and the artist are from like the same year. Which also doesn't really line up because the artist is set in like the late 20s and Citizen Kane's set all over, but it was made in the 40s. So I don't know. But whatever. The point is just like they both are equally impressive for like opposite reasons, if that makes sense. Like one is advanced and then one is like so qualitatively so well made but old looking on purpose, like just so craftedly vintage. Wow, that sounds like a good thrift store in Colorado. Catch me in Boulder opening up a fucking pants store. Anyway, that was a very daft explanation of the artist. But yeah, I thought that his performance was unbelievable. And while the like director and like picture, you can call that shit a gimmick win, like for an Oscar. For acting, I don't see that argument at all. It's almost more difficult without being able to do any type of speaking to do it all with your face. And yes, like he is a little, like I said, like hammed up, but like within the context of the movie, it makes perfect sense, and he is absolutely spot on start to finish the entire time. And then like the way that they like do kind of infuse sound into it throughout is brilliant. Like the noise is breaking through, and the score is phenomenal and old timey the whole time, and it's phenomenal. And it's not something that I thought I would say, to be honest. I ended up loving it by the end. And like literally, like I could say that I love it. And I think that that's because I thought it was gonna suck. And I thought I was gonna be like, there's no reason why this deserved it. And it kinda did. And watching it, it becomes more and more like, I don't know how to say this. It it just becomes more like artsy and homagey and clearly just done as a modern thing at the end, but like not in any type of bad way to where it breaks you out of the flow you're in with the movie. It just becomes very much more like, I don't know, it just has a darkness to it that I feel like you wouldn't see in movies at the time. And I don't know, I was really taken away with it at the end. Now, is it something that I'm going to be like trying to watch again and again and again? No. No, it's very much like a one time, maybe you show somebody and then maybe you show one other person type of thing. Like I could maybe sit through it a couple more times. But like the music was amazing, everything about it was great. And I don't know, I just wish that there were more just like straight up high concept things like this being done. It's just like this is exactly the type of thing that I'm looking for. I mean, I would fucking absolutely prefer it not be silent. You know, like let's go a little bit further, but I'm all for this movie, and if it got shit like retroactively, I don't back that up, and I can't believe it, to be honest. I want more Jean Dujardin in movies. Although he is in that new Deerskin movie by the guy who did Rubber, where he's just like in love with a jacket. That looks pretty fucking sick, you know. So I'm all about that. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, why did that movie not have any crossover? I guess because of the silent thing, people just called it a gimmick. Maybe that's just my guess. But I mean, the artist kind of worries me as an example of like what could happen with Parasite, whereas like we just forgot about it, and like maybe we won't forget about Parasite, but maybe we forget about the whole point of like foreign diversity. You know what I mean? Like, oh, the artist happened, and then we're just like, why did that happen? That was dumb, and let's not acknowledge anything again until Parasite. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a little bit concerning, but there's a lot of factors at play there. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It was it was like a Sunset Boulevard type of plot, which I didn't really know what it was about. Like I knew it was about a silent film actor, but I didn't know like what lanes it went down. Um, but yeah, I thought it was fantastic. And I think that it easily could have been made like with sound where they just spoke to each other and it would have been like just as great. You know what I mean? So, yeah, let's move on from that one. I feel like I'm leaving something out. That's kind of why it's been dragging on. If you haven't noticed, I just been like shitting out shit from this tongue. But fuck it. It's over. Watch The Artist, watch Citizen Kane. Um, but I guess this is the order I'm doing it in. It's like three, two, one. Which ones I'd rather have you guys watch, or which ones I'd rather have like anybody watch to talk to me about. I think I'd rather talk to somebody about Citizen Kane the least of these three movies, and the most would be They Live. John Carpenter, the legend. And the thing is, I was looking at his filmography. It's like, is this his Is it like his last movie? And I know that it's not literally, but like in terms of there's a pretty significant drop off after this. And the question is this his opus? To which my answer is 100% yes. But, having said that, dun dun dun, is he going to contradict himself? No. Luckily, no. But having said that, I haven't seen a pretty big chunk of the important ones. Haven't seen The Thing, and I haven't seen Big Trouble in Little China. So, I also haven't seen the original Assault on Precinct 13. I just don't see any way that that is my favorite John Carpenter movie. That just doesn't make any sense. Um, so I say that with a little bit of an asterisk, you know? And I'm just not a big Halloween guy. Controversially, this is going to ruin a lot of my credibility, I think, with a lot of people, but I think that the Rob Zombie version is better. And we'll just leave it at that. I probably need to reevaluate and rewatch. But I don't know, just not a big Halloween guy. A lot of respect for it. One of those. It's one of those where it's like, this led to a lot, but I don't get it. Love the score. Love the score. But no, I'm going to say They Live is the best. And another reason why I'm going to say that it's his best is because the more I've been thinking about it, and I just watched it again like hours ago leading up to this recording, and the more that I've been thinking about it, it might be a top 10 all-timer for me. Now that's a heavy, 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 heavy statement said with a fresh watch in mind. So, don't you fucking dare quote me on that one. Because that's bold, and I'm aware that that's bold. So I'm gonna hold on to that for a second. Um, but I mean, in a great way, this movie has everything. And I don't know how you could say that and mean it in a bad way. That just sounds like it's worded to be a good thing. But just to clarify, um, I mean, it has comedy, horror, sci-fi, fucking, a little bit of romance in there, but lots of action. You can watch it for commentary and themes and political. I guess that's what the commentary would be on. But, advertising commentary, just societal shit. Or you could just watch it for fun and, whatever. Oh, there's endless reasons. You can pick any combination of any of them. And there's more than what I just listed. It really just has it all. And speaking of the score, great score. Carpenter always, the fact that you score your own movies is fucking raw anyway, but he's also just so dope at it. And I wish that They Live was a little synthier. I think that if it was made like a couple years earlier, like early 80s, it probably would have been. And maybe it was an intentional avoidance. But it also, I mean, the music in the film fits the film incredibly well. So no gripes on there. I just know that he fucking rips on synth, and that would have been sick. Um, but this movie is probably the exact thing that I would want to make. Like if I was ever given like a budget to make a movie, let's say that crazy hypothetical scenario, and they're like, go make anything. It would, like, my end goal would be to do something like this. Um, Obviously not now, you know what I mean? Because it exists already. But like, I can't think of a like Adam's dream movie and have it not end up almost exactly like this. Now, are there things that I would change in They Live? Yeah, sure, I guess. But everybody's gonna have personal preferences in every way about everything pretty much. So I, other than like nitpicky shit, it's pretty perfect in my opinion. So just because, well, not just. Who am I to say just because? No, I'm gonna list a fucking bunch of reasons. There's so many reasons. One, I love the super wide angle. Fucking awesome. I love how the logo like forms into the thing, like the opening shot, like all of the compositions throughout the movie. They use there's lots of rule of thirds being used, and just like all like the urban cityscapes and everything is just being shown in such great framing throughout the whole thing, and that is awesome. That like basically you could take a still at any moment and it's gonna look fucking cool. That is definitely big ups for me, because it's like, even I feel like this movie wastes zero time, which is both super amazing. Like obviously, like that's just a feat. Um, but I think that it's also a testament to the shots, because there are times that I noticed where it felt like there was like a dull moment, but you could just kind of just look and it's fine. Like the plot isn't moving for like a second at the beginning. And then like, it just kind of makes up for itself. And that's the thing, is that like, yeah, the only parts that are a little slow are the parts that are necessary to set up the whole movie. But they basically knock out everything in like 10 seconds. They're like, this guy, yeah, he just wandered into town. And then they're like, oh, this guy, yeah, he needs a gig because he's fucking a drifter. So now he works with this guy. And this guy also is kind of a drifter. They need to eat somewhere. Boom, whole plot of the movie is set up. And the way that they introduce each character, like they take the time to actually set up an introduction with everybody, and it's all logical and it all makes sense, and nobody just kind of comes out of nowhere. It's all very nice and neat, and anybody you meet is going to be central to the plot because they're going to end up throughout the whole thing. Pretty much. Well, except for the aliens. But I digress on that. I just thought that that was neat. Like there's no extra fat on this at all, and it just kind of goes beat by beat by beat, and it's just like one non-stop barrage of fucking awesome events. I mean, I don't really know how else to word it. It like doesn't even have any type of like a structure to it. Everything just kind of happens and flows one right after the other. But it doesn't seem to really go on any type of timeline. Like it doesn't seem to have like a beginning, middle, and end. It's just kind of a like, holy shit, this escalated so fast. And I think that that is an infinite fucking entertainment factor. It's like that is like an impossible thing to harness though. It's like trying to catch lightning in a bottle. Which I think is everything about this movie. I think it just is lightning in a bottle. I mean, to get Rowdy Roddy Piper, an iconic wrestler, sure, but to just be in this movie on a whim and to just go with your gut and to just nail that decision and for Roddy to just nail the performance, I mean, everything about that is phenomenal. You know, that is just a fucking home run, slam dunk. Let's get shit poppin' move. You know, that is so baller. And I mean, now that The Rock has done his thing, it's like every wrestler is going to be trying to get this clout. But would there be a Dwayne Johnson without a Rowdy Roddy Piper? Probably, because that dude's hella charismatic. You know, I'm not going to try to front on that. Uh, can we make the case that Roddy Piper paved the way for wrestlers in cinema? Is Roddy Piper the Rosa Parks of wrestlers in cinema? You know, we'll debate. Coming up next. Um, that's just a joke. Everybody chill. That obviously wouldn't even be true. Hulk Hogan was in movies and shit. So calm down, bro. Um, but yeah, I fucking love everything. The shots in black and white are all the shots are gorgeous. Everything in black and white looks so good. Um, the aliens are scary in a like if that was real, you'd be scared. In a movie, you know that it's fucking weird as hell. Like it just works in a way that it's like that's not unpleasant to look at. This isn't gross. It's not gratuitous. There's an awful lot of violence in there. Almost no gore. It's very artful. Like everything is done in like a tasteful way almost. Even though the whole movie's very rough and gritty at the same time, it's also very polished. It's hard to explain. Just excellent craftsmanship. There's a fucking 6-minute fight. You know, how the hell did they even get that choreographed? I mean, you know, on a technical level, everything's great. And then when they go black and white, when they got the glasses on, you know, and they can view like the cheap little tracking saucer things and they look like they're in like an Ed Wood movie. It's just beautiful. You know, just as the artists, all their homages to old cinema that were just fucking cool to see. And like you really felt like you were in that time. You know, fucking John Carpenter hits you with it right after. And I kind of watched them back to back, and that's where that connection really hit, where like I finished the remainder of the artist that I had left, and then They Live came in the mail. And I was like, perfect. I was going to talk about it anyway. Let's just fucking bang one out real quick, you know? Like a married couple when the kids are asleep. But it was just, yeah, it was just cool to see filmmakers just like, you know, showing rep, giving praise where it's due, being like, hey boy, you ever see some shit like this? 'Cause it's good shit. Oh Jesus, I couldn't even say that with a straight face. But seriously, like that is a connection that I made between the two, and I didn't expect it. Didn't expect any of these to really be interconnected, and they're not in any literal sense. But things kind of worked out in cool ways like that, to where I could make up a thing. So that was nice. Um, But yeah, I mean, Keith David is fucking great. Just listening to his voice is always awesome. But you know, I'm used to seeing modern Keith David, so seeing young buff Keith David is nice. It's like, damn, this bro can fucking throw down for real. Um, the female character was obviously underdeveloped, I guess, to say the least, but she was very effective. And by that, I mean she definitely fucking held her own the whole time. And I mean the action sequence was so absurd and hilarious where she just fucking like throws this dude out of the window of her house. And it's like on a Hollywood hill. It was amazing. But so like, yeah, the fact that he just kind of takes her hostage, she doesn't play this like damsel in distress type of thing, and she just like she rocks this dude. She played it cold the whole time. So mad respect. It's just, you know, he probably wouldn't care that much. I mean, unless he thought he was gonna pound, which I think seeing her there, he's like, I could pound. And so from that point on, he's like, I gotta find her, bro. Because now if I save her too, and like and I stop this, I save her and stop this, it's like I'm definitely pounding. So I think that was just a lot of dick thinking, especially if you're a drifter. You know, you got to take what you can get. So now, like, you kidnap this broad, and she might be down. You know, I could see it. You know, you put blinders on, bro. Even when you're like trying to thwart an alien operation, that's like, you know, hypnotizing humanity or brainwashing, whatever. Sometimes you just got to do what it takes to get one in. I mean, that's the only thing, the only logical explanation, given what's in the movie. You know what I mean? Like that's my biggest pet peeve of the whole movie is that he would be like, "Where's she at? I gotta find her." It's like, do you? But it does go fitting with the character that he's loyal, you know, because he's loyal to Keith David's character and stuff. But yeah, and then like her turning on them, it's just less impactful, you know, because she's not really established. I mean, she got taken hostage and then thrown out a window, or then threw him out a window. I mean, you know, but that's just a little gripe. It's my only gripe. She was a boss though, you know, so mad respect on that. Like if she would have been, you know, like screaming, crying, and like needed to be rescued, then I think that would have put like a damper on the movie, especially given how little she was in it. But I mean, great move to make her fucking tough. I got mad respect for that. She played it. She played it weird though. She was very robotic, and I think it was almost like Blade Runner esque. You know, she kind of was just like she reminded me of like Rachel, and I don't know if it's so you're like I don't know. Maybe you're supposed to assume that she's like under their brainwash the whole time. Is that a thing? Like, are there parts in this movie that are ambiguous? I don't know. I may have just not liked her performance. That could also be a thing. But it's very robotic. So if that's the one thing that's gonna turn you off, but I mean everything else, it's just mwah. Mwah mwah mwah. Absolutely beautiful. And I kind of want to watch it again already now that I've been talking about it just on here, even though I just finished it like a couple hours ago. It's just a fucking great time. And honestly, like has aged incredibly well. Like so the way I mentioned, you know, that Citizen Kane has like the rich people shit and how you know those themes are in like Vonnegut and stuff in the past and those age well because it's all still relevant. Um Citizen Kane is still good because shit like that is still relevant. You know, the numbers are just different. You know what I mean? Like he might not be a billionaire in that movie. You just got to understand that since it was a different time, he was a billionaire, bro. And like the biggest one. You know what I mean? So like I guess I did kind of leave that part out for as a build up for this whole conclusion, but I mean, it's not just the technical things and like it being ahead of its time. Like the reason why it's likable is because it was not just because it was well made, but also because it holds up. And it doesn't just hold up because it's well made. It holds up because like the topics are still relevant. It still is like thematically important. And it will be like it. That's where it is timeless. Um, so if you have a thing against black and white, I don't know if that's a thing. Like people don't like that in old movies, then I don't know what to tell you. You came to the wrong place and listened to too much of this episode. Um, but that would be the only thing as a deterrent from Citizen Kane because there aren't really any like old movie tropes that'll make you hate it. Like, it doesn't bust into a musical number for no reason and blah blah blah. Like the acting isn't fucking insane and obvious and Jimmy Stewart, it's not that crazy shit. So don't let that be a deterrent. Um it definitely will talk about shit where you're like, yeah, okay, this makes a lot of sense even today, you know. Um, the artist says the least, so that's where that doesn't fit into this argument. It's not really a statement on today. I mean, it is, I guess, on technology if you want to really like put it into a whole thing. But that movie is more so just like a feel good memory lane homage. Wow, that was fun. Same thing with like, you know what I mean? That's why I compare with La La Land. La La Land is like, wow, that was so amazing, such a good time, and it really shines the light on like all those classics and blah blah blah, and it really brings back the magic of movies in the past. All that golden age, blah 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 nonsense. Um, but they live. I don't know if there is a movie that could be more relevant, other than I guess Contagion, which was they put that on HBO like the second the pandemic hit, which is hilarious. Still haven't seen it. Don't want to. Would probably freak me out. Still, even though everybody's just deciding that the pandemic's over, apparently, which is frightening. Um, yeah, there's just never been more of a media problem, I think, and I'm sure it was bad in the '80s because, I mean, my favorite movie, Back to the Future, is kind of one big commercial, also. So like, I kind of get how extreme that must have been and hard. Probably, I would have hated it myself. Just having to deal with the level of commercialism that happened. But I fucking hate it now. So this movie's just like, it just really fucking hits the nail right on the head. And it just gets it. And I think that any young, not horrible person would totally agree and would be like, fuck yeah, this shit gets it. And that's huge. And like I said, the violence isn't extreme. So like if your thing is like, oh, I'm not into that, first of all, grow the fuck up. Okay. But like it's not like gross. There's a lot of it's like play guns. Like you ever been to like a shitty play and they have guns and it's just like and then the guy just falls down. Something light. Like a community theater style. uh but not shitty again. Fucking amazing. I that top 10 thing, I almost like shouldn't have said it cuz now just like the fact that I put it out into the universe makes me wonder if like that was an egregious thing or like what if that is accurate? I don't really know. Um a little bit of news. In conclusion, I stretched that out a little bit, definitely a bunch of times throughout that whole thing. If you couldn't fucking tell, but yeah. So that is my loose, cobbled together narrative of 3 movies I watched. Is basically what this episode was. Here's a made up thing I did. So call me. I'm officially a journalist. If you want me to write for your blog, that's how I'm gonna wrap it up. If you want me to write for your blog, um, but yeah, this is me actually wrapping it up. Just to clarify, going forward, I'm starting to get my Tarantino DVD collection up because I'm really getting close. Well, I know I keep talking about it, but I'm really getting close to doing the Tarantino v. Anderson because I want to do their filmographies individually, but I need to figure out a way to do a comparison. So it's like I need to rank them all individually, but then I also need to rate them with a score. So I might need to rewatch all of them, or at least the ones that I haven't seen recently enough. So it might take me a minute. So I'm gonna try to get all that together. But that's something fun coming down the line. Other than that, this has flown by. It's been a blast. I definitely forgot a bunch of shit I wanted to say about all three of these movies. And probably said things that were dumb or wrong. So you can just ignore all those and only listen to the good parts, as always. Uh, but yeah, if you got anything you want to chat about, suggest, whatever, we got a contact email, rfatpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me / the show. It's like one Instagram, like my Instagram is the show's Instagram at adam.rfat. Link in bio gets you everywhere there. And rate, review, subscribe, share the show. Get the word out. Let's blow the roof off this motherfucker. That laugh was fake. I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry I lied to you people. On that note, I just want to remind you that I are fat, you are fat, we are fat. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. It's been a Tuesday, good or bad. Hope is a little bit better now. Calculator.